Welcome again, everyone. Gerry's Old Guy Review with a new segment. We are going to call this one Story Time with Gerry. And we are going to revisit some, hopefully most of the vehicles in the workshop. We may be doing a little maintenance on them. We may just be cleaning them. But being that I've got a lot of things in my head for maintenance for this winter, I figured it was a perfect time to start. Now, it may be just one vehicle in a month, maybe two vehicles. It all depends on what I'm doing. And I know there's a dirty T word right there. On the bench, the OG 2000, 16, 17 this came out? TRX4. Now, they do make these in different wheelbases. And this is the longer wheelbase. From what I understand, which I see that this is still the only option for that long wheelbase, obviously for the Land Rover body. But here's my thinking. Back when I bought this truck, I had Axial. Let's see. 1, 2, probably 3. Had a lot of Tamiya stuff. Had some Red Cat stuff. A lot of these companies that exist now didn't exist. There was no Elements. The only, Vanquish you could get was an $800 kit that you had to buy everything else for. So it was a pretty good market at the time of companies that were out, but it wasn't where we are at now. I mean, good Lord. HPI's back. Element. Vanquish. Traxxas. Charisma. MST. TWS. Well, Red Cat with their new versions of crawlers. RC four-wheel drive. RC four-wheel drive was in that list. I'm just looking around. That's the current selection. No Team Associated. They do have some of those little crawlery things. But a lot of companies existed then that don't exist now. Now, yeah, guess what? At that point, I owned Traxxas. I had Big Scale, Summit, E-Max, T-Max, the Vortex, the Slashes. Not necessarily a fanboy. That was what was available. If I decided today I wanted a RC vehicle, went down to the local hobby shop, he was going to have plenty of Traxxas. Now, he had other options, which, again, don't exist anymore. But this truck, call me a fanboy, whatever, don't care. Call me a liar, call me whatever. Again, don't care. This truck sitting right there in front of you has gone through 2 different body styles. 2 complete sets of tires. And it is running all the original electronics. Now, any of you who've watched my videos for a long time, we've had this conversation in the comment section, and I've never lambasted anyone. If you've had a poor experience, you've had a poor experience. It's not my place to call you out. Who am I? Just because potentially maybe I got the most perfect one that came off the assembly line. Or maybe I don't drive like some people do. Maybe what I think is really giving it to the truck, somebody else might say, look at that guy, baby in that vehicle. Don't know. This truck has been beat and pounded on. It's been flipped upside down, high, low, whipping the gears, but I tend to not do it while I'm driving. I change gears, I come to a stop, change the gears, take off again. Maybe I don't get as fluttered about steering as some people do. I understand. I see it. I see it with my rigs. But never enough to make me want to go out and take a functioning part and just replace it. I like to replace things that fail. But I will say with some of the FMS stuff, particularly the Atlas, the Michigan, yep, those speed controls are great for anything but the trucks they're in. 1040s, 1060s, not necessarily in a vehicle you want to make a crawler. But I see what they've done. They've tried to cater to people. You know, you're not going to be crawling it all the time. You might want it to be peppy and drive around and don't need the drag brake all the time. But for those of us that are primarily using them for crawling, you know, that's nice to have. Now, this truck, when it first came out, I was just enamored with the doodads. Not a big doodad guy. Not really, you know, I had a creeper, Venom creeper back in the day that you could buy the remote locking kits for. Pardon me. You know, never bought it. Lock the diffs in. That's what I was used to. When Axial came along, every Axial rig has locked diffs. Didn't see a need. You know, it wasn't a street car that I was racing and needed to take corners really fast. So a locked diff was perfect. Simplicity is, I guess, my way of life. And this truck with all these doodads was like a big wake-up call. But the lock and diffs. I will generally take this truck out and run it until I run into a situation where I need the diffs. I'm at a stop, hit the diff lock, continue on. But most of the time, I know what I'm going out to do. If I'm not running this in second gear, I have the lock diffs are locked because I know what I'm doing with it. But if I want to whip shitties around the yard with it, that's where the 2-speed is fun. That's where the unlocked diffs are more fun than, say, a truck that has a 2-speed and locked diffs that you can't unlock. Adult beverage. So, what I'm doing with this truck is, this truck was in its old anage when I first did it. So, you know, it's got every light imaginable. It had a rear light on it, but I took it off. So, we're going to stick that off to the side. But as I've tweaked and tuned on it, just in case you didn't believe it, there is the original Titan, the original XL5, the original shift servos, all three of them. I haven't done anything in this truck other than body work, change the tires. But I do notice, you know, I joined the Traxxas TRX4 website or Facebook page, and I do notice that under compression, you know, everything's pretty tight in there. But thanks to my new crawler course, in construction, I have noticed a weakness on this truck. And what we're going to do today is we're going to modify this front bumper, because it wasn't just because of this, the crawler course, that I noticed this. I noticed it before. And one of the things, so wait a minute, let's not get carried away. So a lot of you guys have asked me about, you're always asking me about where I got the pickup truck bed for this. And, you know, I could be that guy and say, hey, just go back and watch the video. I got the video. Well, my buddy Pez over in the Old English place, you know, our two small channels back in the day had a nice little challenge. So Pez was into 3D printing. I wasn't. I am not a 3D printer. I am have a piece of plastic that I can cut up. It was already textured. Nice piece. First time ever. Did nothing go wrong. I cut this body out. This is the OG body. Cut it out. Cut the back out. And then, dare I say, perfectly cut the back hatch out that was here. Oop, there we go. That was here. Cut it out. Managed to, pretty good for my old unsteady hands, but this was a while back. It is completely, the lines all line up. I can't even believe how good I cut this out. But here I was. These bodies aren't cheap. So I took my sweet time. There's some reinforcement. There's where the ugliness is. Reinforcement. And it's all glued on. And I don't remember. Let me see. Is this soft or hard? Oh, it's hard. So probably an epoxy of some kind. All my fancy measurements are still in there. And it came out relatively perfect. Cut the cage down, and then, you know, left it as a pickup truck. Because I think these are awesome as a pickup truck. There was a missed opportunity by Traxxas. Make two different bodies for it. But put some sand rails on it. Actually, these might have came later. I think those might have came from a Red Cat kit. But completely redid it, taped it off, made it more of a just British, what I assume, a dark brown. Took all the stickers off, black on the hood. I love the way this truck came out. So I still want to try to buy another one and do it again, because Pez, we didn't have any competition like people voting on it or anything like that, but we're buds. No real competition. It was like, okay, there's yours, there's mine. All right. Well, Pez was nice enough to send me his, because he did the rear bed. He made it so it drops in. So it's really nice. Drops in, rear deck. Excellent. And see, that's the world we need to live in right there. We need to live in that world where two guys who theoretically should be competitors because we're making YouTube videos, but we're not. And we're on two different continents, and we're chatting it up. We're sending stuff to each other. That is I mean, that was just perfect in my world. Well, now we're doing a little flip because now this is lifted up and I want to see if I can eliminate the gap in the back, or is this going to be too tall? And right now, the holes aren't fitting. Oh, man. Way too tall. Oh, that's Hillbilly Deluxe. Watch out. Hillbilly Deluxe. Woo-hoo! Big pick-em-up truck. Look at that. It's an American Land Rover. Yep. That's not going to work. So, see, that's the experimentation. The bumper looks great now. It's just too tall. Yeah, I really worked hard to get this thing to sit the way I wanted to, but I guess we're going to have to take that puppy. See, there's another 3D printed part Pez made for me, a gas tank. Pretty friggin' sweet, Pez. One day I'm going to get skilled at these, doing these 3D printing things. You know what I wonder? Now I just got to look at it. I mean, it doesn't drag like the front does. Okay, well, that was unsuccessful, so put that back together. I was wanting to eliminate that gap. So back to story timing with this. This truck, I wasn't big on, traveling. In 2014, I bought my house for my wife. Don't tell Miss Diane that that house was for her, even though I think she knows. Specifically because of the big backyard. But the backyard was all woods. So it took me a lot of cleaning to get it to where it is now. And that was my goal, was to build my backyard. So, man, I wish I could fix that. So I could have a course. And it's taken me a while. You know, you set up things in your brain. They don't always work out that way. But we're coming along now. But I used to generally just, even in my old house, used to just kind of go out in the backyard, had a nice rock pile I built. Okay. So it wasn't a big thing, but when I bought this truck, now all of a sudden it opened things. It opened my mind. It opened the world. So I tended to always have it in my truck. Now, when I first got this, I was still stuck in the days of nickel metal. And I'll tell you, this truck, if you are used to saying, well, here's the newest comparison. So if you were used to using just nickel metal batteries, and they started coming out with these big ones, and I generally had, where is one of my batteries? It's floating around here somewhere. Like the 5200s. Those were, to me, were fabulous. From starting at the 1500 NiCad days, 5200s were phenomenal. And I'm going to tell you, growing up as a kid, you don't think of your parents and the innovations in the world they went through. you know, you listen to your mom playing Elvis and you're like, oh my God, that old music sucks. Well, you know what? Guess what? I love all that old music. Thanks to my mom. And, oh, I got to go get some batteries. And it's the same way with me with these innovations. You know, most of us, if you've got grandparents, you just think of the innovations in the world they went through. Well, I've got that experience with RC cars. When you've got what's going on here? Oh, come on you. Oh. When you start out in the 80s with mechanical speed controls, AM radios, 1500 milliamp NiCads that took 45 minutes to charge, and you got 10 minutes if you were lucky. Same thing now with this. I mean, I was around when the electronic speed control came out. It took forever for me to buy one because they were generally $100. And you're like, what do I need that for? I've got my mechanical speed control works. Meanwhile, they used to melt down because the resistor in them that took all of the battery juice that wasn't being used and just wasted it. Had they had a mechanical speed control, you would have got 15 minutes of runtime, maybe 20 minutes. But you wasted so much juice with those resistors. And if you were out rallying, say you just were on your third pack, that thing was red hot. If your body got anywhere near it, it melted. So, I mean, it's just a kick to see all these modern innovations. And, you know, I'm sorry. Let me do this real quick. Okay. So what I'm doing here is the way this body sits, the tires rub. So because these are ribbed, I'm just cutting them out so that these tires, I can keep the truck low because this is a big heavy body. So keeping the truck low keeps it from rubbing on this, but it also trying to help combat, and I'm just randomly digging around because I had an X-Acto knife laying right here. Oh my sweet googly moogly. And that's the thing. To me, this innovation, it's really great because from what I started out, maybe that's another reason that I don't get all worked up with the newest and best. You know, is the TRX4 the greatest thing on the market? No. Is anything on the market the greatest thing? The greatest vehicle on the market? No. They generally are very similar. They're going to have most of the same problems, which generally with some of these RTRs and whatnots, it is wheels and tires. And if you're into that kind of thing, electronics. You swap those out to your preference, and it's your preference. So, of course, the vehicle seems to be way better than it was. Nobody makes a perfect truck, but the person who can make a truck that's almost damn perfect is you. If you sit down and you figure out all this geometry and mathematics and figure out the perfect everything, you're going to probably make a perfect truck. And then guess what? You've just spent all that money and you have a truck that does everything. One more second. I was in the process of charging these, so I'm hoping they're going to last. And I'll tell you what, nothing smells better than melting plastic. Oh, it may just do it. Oh, it did it. It did it, and I can put it back on the charger. Let me see. Okay, what is that one? Well, one's a little different, but that's okay. So, wow, I got off topic now. Was I still talking about the building your own truck and getting bored with it? Because it can do everything. These can't do everything. Now, I will admit, if you're going to make something that we're going to spend the most of the time working on, then, yeah, it could be a little cheaper. But most of us that have these trucks, well, there's two camps. There's the people like me that like to drive them, find a weakness, they break, and you mend them with new stuff. Now you have a truck that is new to you. And then you have the other camp that buys a truck, complains about everything on it, turns around, replaces everything in it, and then says what a great thing it is. I don't get that one. I would rather buy something that I like to begin with. You know, I like to go with more of aesthetic stuff. I find it more gratifying, I guess, to not make them do everything on earth, but to make them perform well while looking good. Let's see. So, yeah, I guess there's still a little bit of a gap up front too. So, with those completely compressed, Let me just double check it. Yep. Not a bit of body or bumper. Boom! And see right there from my testing that I did, I just made this truck perform better. Because the front bumper was catching on obstacles, so it sucked in more. And because of that one lip, this tire was constantly getting bound. And when it's trying to crawl this close, oh, God, is that... We're talking like a millimeter. That is going to be tight. And that's another joy of having this little course. So I'm going to tell you. This little course is going to have a whole lot of scuffs on it when you guys see it. When we start driving the trucks on it in the videos. Because I have been driving trucks on it. You know, I'm trying to set it up where multiple trucks can go theoretically in the same section. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm noticing. It's huge with the way I set this up is my course out back is way too easy. This urethane course that I'm making in my garage is going to be more technical than a natural rock formation or an unnatural one like the one I'm building. This is already showing me on different trucks their limitations, be it bumper placement, tires, top heaviness. It's going to be a hell of a monster course when we're done. Oh, turning. Just designing the back turn. We're going to have to write a rule. I'm going to have to write a whole rule book for this. But back to the ramble. This truck right here. Love Traxxas, hate Traxxas. Bitch about somebody, a company who protects their intellectual property, or somebody who just wants to stifle someone else's innovation. Those are opinions that people are allowed to have. But you know what? As long as my local hobby shops have carried Traxxas, that local hobby shop paid Traxxas. It doesn't matter if I buy them or not. If that hobby shop goes out of business, Traxxas already got that money. But I don't want my local hobby shop to go out of business. I want him to be there, which Arctic Wings RC, North Pole, Alaska, my current RC shop, you can't do better. I mean, you could if you had, one of these national chains or whatever. Maybe their store frontage is bigger and you're going to have more options. What I've seen with my local hobby shops was the lack of diversity. Buying what they want. That is not how you do business. Jeremy, the owner of Arctic Wings RC, knows that there are different people in the world and there's different opinions, different options. But you know what? If I go in there and Jeremy says, look at this Traxxas I got here, I'll give you a smoking deal. Buying it. Jeremy just asked me to buy something from him. And he's going to give me a deal on it. He gives me deals anyways, because I'm a veteran. But he's given me deals for the fact that that's what he's got. I don't care the name brand. Give me a deal. I will enjoy no matter what vehicle. If I want it, here comes heat again. I'm going to buy it. And you know what? Because of this course, I have two 18 scale vehicles. Yeah, this kicks their ass. It's going to kick the 10 scales asses. So of course it's going to kick the 118 scales. But I'm going to go see Jeremy with some YouTube money in a couple weeks. and I'm going to go get some more 118s. Miss Diane's going to come out here. We're going to have some challenges. Because I have options. And I have no hatred in my heart for any brand. So, again, if you come into my comment section and you're going to rag on Traxxas, you better only have ever had one and it treated you bad. Because if you've had any diversity in your life and you've had an Axial or you've had RC four-wheel drive, Charisma, MST, Element, and you can't legitimately tell me that this truck is well made, is durable, and you had fun with it, then you're full of it. Because I can get a $40 114 scale Wrangler off a Banggood and go out and have a giggle with it. Because I know what I just bought. And I'm going to go out and see what the hell it does. So, I'm sorry, this might have got kind of let it fly on Friday rantish, but it's my good buddy RC Dungeon's fault. Mr. J, you wound me up today with your great video. So, for all the rest of you, let me know about your TRX4s. Let me know what you've got currently. Has it let you down? What let you down? Was it the servo? Because I'll tell you, I've got a couple that, that servo's weak. I want to get a new one. This one, surprisingly, has been pretty fair. I'm going to say fair. It's not excellent. It's not a piece of shit. It's fair. It makes the truck go left and right when I want it to. But, again, no RC car is perfect. But this one is going the long term so far. So let me know. Like and subscribe. A key factor on the like. Come on, guys. We're doing hundreds of views. Barely, maybe 1 or 2 dislikes. But we're only getting 20 or 30 likes. So hit that like button. Let's explode that sucker into YouTube's face. Christmas is coming again. I'm sorry I sound like a little peddler. But link below in the description. FMS affiliate site. Spring gear. Get some merch from the Oldguyreview. And I will see you in the comment section.